How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to talk about how to improve the performance of your hydraulic handbrake. That might sound weird to somebody. You'd be like, why would I need to improve the performance of the hydraulic handbrake? Like, you pull it, it locks up the rear wheel, you call it a day. If you got your hydro working right the first try, congratulations, because that's actually not easy. There are a lot of things going into it for it to work and work properly. So today I'm going to tell you what you need to do if your hydro doesn't work properly or doesn't work at all. Let's get it. One of the first things you got to do is getting a high friction brake pad that doesn't require a really high operating temperature, because some of the brake pads, especially racing pads, only work in a certain window. If it's too cold, it's not going to bite. If it's too hot, it's not going to bite. So getting the right brake pads is actually really important. Also, you can get away with a stock pad. This is actually the stock brake pads that I just took off of this car. I think it's just the OEM Hella pad. Hella stock. That's what I would call it. It still, as you can see, it has a lot of life left. But the problem with these pads is it feels really linear. It doesn't bite immediately. So if I could feel that the wheel will still spin for a short period of time before it locks up. So eventually, I mean, it still locks up, it still works, but when you just want to give it a tap, it doesn't really, want to stop the wheel immediately. So this actually works worse than the stock drum e-brake, because when I had the magic handle, if you haven't seen that video, it's going to be over here. So when I was using the magic handle, which is just the extension for the stock handbrake, that one locks up better than this. So this actually answers a lot of people's questions. Do I have to have a hydro handbrake, or does hydro works better than the stock handbrake? The answer is the stock handbrake can work better than the hydro if you don't have the right pads or don't have the right master cylinder, which is another very important thing that you need to look into, because the piston size on the rear brake caliper is different on different cars. So it's not a one size fits all type of situation, right? So if you have the bigger piston in the back, you will need a bigger master cylinder for a hydro. Vice versa, if you have a smaller one, you don't need, or you need a smaller master cylinder. Because think about it this way, to pump the same amount of brake fluid, a smaller master cylinder will require a longer travel compared to a larger master cylinder, right? And when it comes to the rear brake caliper, obviously a bigger caliper requires more fluid for every cylinder to move, compared to a smaller cylinder or single cylinder rear brake caliper. It obviously requires less brake fluid for it to move, right? So it all depends on what size of the rear brake you have. So if you have a large rear brake caliper and you have a small master cylinder for your hydro, you'll find yourself having to pull your hydro for a long distance in order for it to grab, right? Unless you like it. Also, a longer travel setup requires much less force to lock up the rear wheel. Just think about it. It's common sense, right? And on the other end of the spectrum is you have a very small rear brake caliper and a very large master cylinder on your hydro, right? That means a very little movement from a hydro will pump enough fluid to for the rear caliper to grab, but you will have to use a lot of force to pull the hydro, because obviously common sense. When it comes to physics, it's really hard for me to explain in English. So if you really don't understand why long travel requires less force and less travel requires more force, look it up or ask somebody who actually was born in America that can explain it better for you. But anyways, for my own car, I'm really happy with the amount of travel they have to pull. The only thing is, like I said, the Hella stock pads doesn't want to grab immediately. So I got this. This is the EBC blue stuff brake pads. It doesn't require a really high operating temperature, and it has a really good cold temperature friction. So it means it bites more instant. So this is the serial number of the part. If you want to buy the same thing, pause the video, look it up. And they also have other models. Green stuff, red stuff, yellow stuff, green stuff, 6000 series, 2000, 7000, heavy duty, orange stuff, but I got the blue stuff. Long lasting and high friction, and this is why I chose the blue stuff. Good brake effect from the cold with high heat threshold. And that is what you want for your hydro. Either the single caliper design or you run the dual caliper. You want something like that, that way you don't have to warm it up, before you run. Anyways, I already took off the 2 bolts holding the caliper to the bracket. Now I'm just gonna retrieve that thing. So on the E36, one side of the pads has a spring clip on the back, because you actually push this into the brake cylinder. It goes in like this. Clip it in. And make sure you use the other one that doesn't have a spring clip on the back. Like that. Bam. There you go. Also, every time you take off your brake caliper guide, make sure to lube it up, because this thing is as dry as my sex life. Look at that. I actually made a mistake earlier by installing the spring first. Now you gotta leave it for the last. I don't know why I put it on, but yep, it's very simple. Just put it on like that. So this is the brake pad. Also, if you're curious about the spacer, and if you want to know if spacer is safe, it is. You just can't over torque it. It's the same thing as a stock stud. If you over torque the stock studs, they're gonna snap as well. Anyway guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have more questions, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.